Hello folks, welcome to my YouTube channel Watercolor Impressions. I've shown you last week how to do 1-point perspective painting. This week we're going to learn how to do 2-point perspective painting in watercolors. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And let's get started, guys. As always, I'll provide the drawing template. Check my video description for the link. As I've shown you in the last week, 1-point perspective, everything, the vanishing point converges to 1 point. That's why it's called 1 point, whereas this is 2-point perspective. So everything converges into 2 points. So there is a left vanishing point and right vanishing point. To find a vanishing point, I would pick any corner of the building. I will draw a line which is vertical to it, and from one side to the other side, and that will converge into 1 point on each side. And that's your vanishing points. And if you notice, wherever the point ends, that's our eye line of, that's a horizontal line, and that's the eye line of a person who is taking a picture. Even though if you see there's two people are walking, their eye line is matching it on the shoulders because I tilted my phone, so my vanishing point, my eye level is on the shoulders. So that's why my horizontal line is there. So if you go and see any kind of reference outside, and if you see it, your eye level which met all the people who are walking in the street, and people who are in the distance, they will match until it's a slanting road. So I don't want to get too technical with it. I will also provide this lines as well. If you want, please use it. And if you're starting 2-point perspective at first, I recommend drawing the lines and start from it. Let's go and get this started. You can see I'm looking for the biggest shape in my reference. The biggest shape in my reference is that building which is facing the foreground. So I'm just establishing my the lines from the top two corners of the building at the top, and that will help me to put some perspective lines. And I'm also doing freehand perspective since I've done a lot of 2-point perspective, and I have also done a lot of perspective paintings. So I have a little bit of knowledge on it, that's why I'm doing it. But if you're a beginner and if you're starting with 2-point perspective, I highly recommend drawing lines with a ruler. So there is nothing wrong in it, because that helps you to understand a little bit of perspective. Then you can freehand it once you get comfortable with it. And you can see once I establish certain lines, I'm trying to put in as much as details I can. And this is kind of like a map. It's going to act for me so that where I can put my washes. Being said that, it's a demo purpose, so I'm trying to be a little bit not that much careful with my perspective lines, and or not even with my drawing or my painting. Being said that, I'm trying to get the essence in my reference, and I'm showing how 2-point perspective works. I'll add some more details from my references for the windows and the people and the trees in the background. And this is just to see, like almost every painting I do, I try to add some people there just to show the scale of it. And I'm throwing some perspective lines for the road, and I'll just add some even though there is no street light or anything, street poles like that, so I'm just going to add it to enhance a little bit of perspective in my painting, and that shows a little bit of depth in our painting as well. So I add a little bit of darker values wherever my darker value is going to sit in my reference, so you could see. And we are almost at the end of our drawing. Let's throw down our first wash for the sky. I'm going to using Cobalt Blue, and it's stronger at the top and weaker at the bottom because the sky also have a gradient. When it comes to color, I did have a lot of difficulties when I started painting in watercolors before, and this is a trick I learned from one of my favorite artists. And he says, whenever you paint, think everything as warm or cool colors. So even in the reference, if it's you're not true to the color, if it's a warmer color, if you put warmer color, it will work eventually in your painting, and it will look good, and it will look realistic as an impression. As a painting, it stands when people see it from far. And so once I started doing it, it'll help me a lot in my colors in my painting. So for the first wash for the building, I'm going to warm up with a wash of a little bit of cadmium yellow and a little bit of yellow ochre in it. And I'm also adding a little bit of cadmium red in it to get the warmth in my building. And I also left some white bits for the windows, even though in reality there are some white bits and some have glass which is reflecting the sky, but I'll just leave it white, and it shows a little bit of glow in our building. And I also left the windows, you could see the white bits which is like facing towards us, not like far away from us. And I'm also starting the first wash for the other buildings, the houses, which is sitting on the left hand side. And whenever you do it, squint your eyes and it will show where to put the details exactly. And still I have issues till now. I cover everything. I don't leave the white bits when I paint, because I had this laziness of I can use white paint at the end. But as an artist, you should develop an eye that you should be able to leave some white bits based on the reference. But still I'm working on it. That's a good tip for you. And let's start the ground wash. So if you see the ground is a warmer light wash. So I'm going to start with a neutral tint, and I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre in it to get the warmth in my glow. And as it comes down, I'm going to go a little bit darker, and that will take us and lead us into the painting. And it also creates a little bit of perspective as well. So the white bits, I'm going to leave it as it is, and I let my painting dry for a bit. So now let's jump onto the bus. For the bus, it's straightforward. I'm going to use a little bit of red. And this another thing you should learn how to paint is not dabbing. So when you paint, do a quick confidence stroke. That's all it needs. But the energy of it, you can match with 1,000 strokes in your painting. Try to do a quick confident way, and that will have a little bit of confidence in your painting. It also shows when a customer or client, or when somebody sees your painting, how confident you painted that. So I'm starting with the background tree, and I'll just zap it on really fast, because this is going to be a background, so I don't like to fuss with it. So I'm adding started adding some darker tones, and in reality you could see the light is coming from the backlit, so there's going to be a lot of shadows in this building. But being aware of it, I'm going to leave a lot of eyelets in it, so that it shows enhance the lighting in our painting. So I tried to finish that shadows in the building, which is on the left hand side, and I also used a little bit of white paint at the end. So now let's focus on the shadows on the biggest shape in our painting. So the building, which is in the foreground, I'll try to get the shadows as close as possible, and there is two details in there. There is the white part, and there's a dark part at the top. What I'll do, I'll paint the shadows first. At the end, I will use a little bit of Chinese white and a little bit of the color which is at the top, and I will just bring it over. And for the windows, it's just a mark I'm going to make. I'll just add the shadows on the corners of the windows, and that's all it needed. And now I'm going to add the shadows in the building, which is peeking out on the right hand side. And I will just, as soon as we add the shadows, you could see the whole painting came alive. And there's also two people there, even though there wasn't a shadow on the top right, mid right, and I also created a little bit of shadow to enhance a little bit of lighting. And even the bus, it's floating on the ground. As soon as I add the shadow, you could see it's literally sitting on the road now. So whenever you paint, there's two things which is really important in any kind of painting, I would think. That is the lighting and the shadows, and the midground as well. The mid value also helps to enhance the objects in your painting to make it 3D. And this is what I was talking about, adding light poles in your painting just to enhance a little bit of perspective in your painting. And I'm using white paint for it, and I'm also adding a little bit of that light poles on the right hand side as well. So now all the TTC cars in Toronto, they have a lot of red details in it. Now it's time to take a big step using white paint to bring back the eyelets in our painting. So I would wait for the eyelets and the shadows at the end. I wouldn't start anything like that. So that's the laziest line I ever made in my painting, and that's not even following the perspective lines. I feel really bad about it, but I left it as it is because that shows how confident when you paint. And I might regret this the person I'm putting on the foreground, just to show everything. The focus goes on the bus and the foreground building, and I'm just add that person, and I merge in the ground. And now it's your turn. Take my drawing template and reference, and do some perspective lines, and let's see what you can come up with. If you ended up doing this painting, please share with me, and I'll love to share with my subscribers. Thanks again for watching this 2-point perspective painting in watercolors with me. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section. If you want me to cover any of the subjects in watercolors, write me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or comment below. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And please do share with your friends and family. And good luck with your painting, folks.